All right, cool. So this is my final project, and this is a Shadow Realm that I applied to another environment that I have, which has a bunch of features. I'm gonna go over the blueprints and technical parts, and also through the parameters that we can control whatever's happening. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the transition or the toggling mode. So if I press Q, it will transition back into the normal realm. And if I press Q again, the character becomes ghostly, the environment becomes a shadow realm, and a bunch of things happen here, which are all controllable by parameters, right? So let's talk about the transition first. So when I transition, as you can see right here, there is this is my instance. I just put it right here. So material instance, so you can see how that's being controlled. Um, the first thing you see is that the transition is a spiral. That is because I created like a polar coordinate material, which I can show you right here. This is the size of my material function. So I'm gonna try to be brief and not go every single detail, but the overall catch of everything. So starting with the transition, right? Uh, I set up here a polar coordinate which can be teleported way into the edge, right? Like the edge of the transition and all that. So what happened is that if I toggle this off, it's gonna do differently, right? If I go back here and now I try to transition, boom, the transition now it is going from left to right or horizontal. If I do a rotation here, let's say zero point 0.5, now it's going to be vertical, right? Also, there's a bunch of features here that I can change. For example, the uh, the smoke of the effect of the edge transition. As you can see, changed. So if I put this like super thick, it becomes like thicker, right? Or if I rotate, let's say to 12, which is gonna be diagonal. Um, Also, I can change the size. So if I want to make the edge size like, oh, that's actually too much. Let's put 0 0.5. So yeah, super thick. We don't want to do that. So this is too thick. So 0.12 was fine. Yeah, you can control the color separately from the shadow realm. Um, but let's keep as blue for now, kind of bluish. So going back to the polar coordinate, just showing one more time. So we click those two, and we put like minus 25 and 0 0.5. I think this was my favorite. So it's like a spiral, like looks like it's going in and out of the character. I really like that one. Okay, let's move on. Let me jump into my material function and explain this. So the main core functionality of the shadow realm happens here, the near effects function, which controls whatever is happening around this lighter area, and the further fog and parallax effect is being controlled by the far effects, which are these are still near, these are near, and there you go, far effects functions, right? So from here I can control the fog, I can control the wave effect and the darkness, controlling all with a scene depth, right? So it is using a scene depth to create two uh, effects, two passes, right? So for example, if I put it here, pass, I also put as a toggle. Of course, I'm gonna toggle this off. It's not gonna look tweaked and nice and sweet, but this is just showcasing. Like if I turn off the second pass, which is the far effects, so the back is all without effects, and the effects are only happening near the character, right? So if I walk far away, yeah, all gets kind of green because there is a green overlay. Same thing if I do on the first pass. It just becomes horrible because that's not tweaked for that. Also, like just toggling on the fur effects. So now you have just this color and this dark background with the fog. Of course, like every time that you switch one and off one of those things, there are multiple tweaks that need to be done. So let me go here and explain the logic of it. So the fog is all controlled here. So the fog is pretty much what you see on the background, right? If I change the opacity to darker or darker or darker, it's gonna get really dark. Also, if you go too far, you might break it. Um, so there is also the fog mask, so I can decide how it is affecting like an overall closure of the far effects. So if I put 200 or 500, it's gonna get overall all dark, not necessarily uh, cleaning the fog. Also, if I want to clean the fog, I can go here on my material instance and turn it off completely, right? And then you can see the background, and then you could tweak it as much as you wanted to see it. So if I just slide it back little by little, it starts to show again, and there you go. What else? Yeah, you can also control the offset control for the fog. But since this is a world align material textures, you're not gonna see too much of a difference in this, right? Especially because it's very far away. Also, if you want to make a new input, use a different texture, you could go here and put, I don't know, Perlin. Should have a Perlin noise. It has like an extra layer of Perlin noise happening. But this one looks better. What else? This is also the texture size, so if I wanted to decrease or increase the texture size, I could go and reduce here. So now it's much more noisy, of course, and more visibly tileable. So 5000 was really nice. And this is also the transition because of course it's a world aligned texture, so when I move the camera, naturally it's gonna see inverts the direction, right? It's always going that direction, but there is like a little bit of like a clipping that is controlled by that transition. So 0.5 was the sweet spot. So that's for that, and let's go back here and see a little bit of this. So the far effects functions, they're all being also added with fog wave and fog. The fog wave is pretty much a normal map. Let me check here. How can I explain this? These are the normal maps controlling the near waves, meaning the waves that we're seeing on the ground and making these flashlights. I could toggle all these off, but let me first show. Yeah, there you go. The fog waves are being controlled by a normal map. Absolute world position. Use the world normal as a scene texture with a world align texture. Um, Again, like I just showed you, like controlling the size of the texture is coming from here. So make a flow and then attach to the world and texture, and then you can decide the size of the tiling. This is also the parameter that chooses if the fog is on or not. Um, this is the whole transition. We already talked about that. And okay, the core controls, because one thing that I maybe didn't explain at first is that all this is happening with a scene texture post-process offset, right? So the parallax effect, that's the foundation of this visual effect, is all happening right here, right? So we have a texture coordinate that is added by the normal waves for the near effects right here, the rerouting right here. Um, then they're multiply and added by the controls, and there's like three different parallax happening, and they're all then joined by this one, which has an option to make it more parallaxy or less parallaxy. So just to explain that, let me go here to my switches, and I showed you already these two, like removing the near effects and the far effects. This is better for troubleshooting, but also that could be used for um, some special effects that you want to just keep like a far distance happening. Of course, this was all tweaked towards my scene. Tossing another scene, the dev would use all these controls to find the desired output that they wanted. So if I turn off here the ethereal plus, right, it's gonna go into false, and I go back here. And also, like if I turn off this one, that's gonna reduce even less the waves. And I come here and reduce, I can't type. The normal size, let's say 0. Well, there is no more wave effect happening, so you kind of just have this dark realm. The far effects are still happening, but again, that's not the desired output. So we can tweak this back to 6,000. Of course, just to showcase this, if I go to 200, yeah, it's horrible, or 50, or any of those. So let me just go back to how it was. I'm gonna take a little bit to just Control Z back to it. Alright, so let's go back to the switches. Everything is working. What else I need to show? I think this one doesn't do right now anything. Let me go back. So yeah, the core parallax effects happening here. There are the add-ons. Again, if I just switch this on and off, there's like options to maintain the original color, but of course tweaking those will mess up with the fine-tuning of the Fresnel and all that. So for example, toss it here, that's too bright, so go back to 6, 7. If we go to 1, it doesn't have the ghost colors anymore, but the wave effect are still happening, if you can see it, right? So the sweet spot for me was 6, 7. What else can I show? I can show a little bit of the environment. All these elements, all these props, they are being controlled by a material parameter collection, and they are being controlled by the character, the player blueprint, right? So as you can see, these trunks, they are also transparent. But if I toggle this off, the visibility goes back to normal. And also the NPC is controlling how different props, excuse me, would interact in the ghost mode, right? So, for example, if this tree is of interest, there is a different ghost shader being applied to it, which is being controlled by the blueprint that do this all over time with a timeline. Um, so let me toggle this off and let me show you. This is all pretty much done. So this is all a material function that goes into a master material, and then we can use this to have multiple instances of multiple effects of desire, right? Um, and right here, I'm gonna have to pause to show this. So what happens is that when I press key, there is a sequence of events. This one toggles the visibility of light object that is only visible um, when the game is playing, right? So if I put like here house light, yeah, this object is invisible right now, and it only will be visible when I press the key, and there's like a little delay for it. Oh, where is it? Yeah. Um, Here there's like a flip-flop, pretty much like the same as a cheap branch node that controls with the timeline all the Shadow Realm toggle, which is connected to the NPC, right? So if I go here and I put here NPC, so there is the Shadow Realm NPC, and all these scalar parameters are controlled here through the animation of these timelines, right? So they are being animated and smoothly transitioning. Now, on the sequence as well, it toggles the ghost mode that was from the previous assignment. I just made a few tweaks. I changed a few problems that were happening as I discussed with you, Aaron, in the Discord with the custom depth and translucency that wasn't working correctly. Unfortunately, there was like just a few things that I needed to check mark. And when the character transition, right, transition here first, and then if it is in ghost mode, goes back to normal right here, right? And there is no overlay material here, and in this one has overlay material. So after that, also like it transformed the tree that you saw with the red light, so it's controlling how different props and maybe even characters like enemy could have a different color, um, and then sets the material back to normal. Like it sets the material to the ghost mode, and then sets back to normal, right? So this was a little bit more complicated to find because I had to cast to the static mesh actor. It's been a while since I've done that, so it took me some time to figure that out. Um, what else to show here? I already showed the Shadow Realm, the NPC. Well, yeah, I can just show here the NPC like just more because there are multiple different meshes that they needed, like some sweet tweaks to make them transparent and looking good. So, for example, some trees they didn't react the same well with the same number of opacity, so I had to create a scalar parameter for each one of them, and they're all being tagged in two different modes. One is via class, and the other one is via a tag, right? So I put a tag on all materials that I wanted to become slightly translucent, like this one, and with that tag, they're gonna be translucent when they're in the ghost mode. Same thing with the red tree that becomes with a different color. It's through a specific tag. And I think that's it. There's still a lot of potential for other things that I wanted to add, like for example in this sheep pen, I wanted to add some dead sheep here. Of course, this is a project that I want to put in my portfolio, so I'll continue working on it. The environment itself, it's not completely done. I have like a vertex painting that I done for the house, which is in a separate project that I will bring in. But in the meantime, yeah, that's all I have. Oh, he got inside the mud. All right, cool. Thank you for the course, Aaron. I really appreciate it. I'm really thankful. This gave me like a boost in my creativity to make new environments, and hopefully I can even nail a job as a technical artist, environment technical artist. That would be even better. But yeah, thank you so much for the course, and thank you, Evan, as well. And that's it. Thank you, guys.